Everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be continuing What If Naruto Had the Powers of Eren from Attack on Titan. And without further ado, let's just get into the video. So we start this one off with Naruto staring off into the woods, and Naruto opens his mouth and he's like, they're coming. And when everybody's thinking about it, they're more or less concerned about why exactly Naruto is still in his Titan form and why exactly, what new form this is. But Naruto doesn't care about that. He senses the massive army and several tailed beasts headed toward this way. So he tells the Raikage to get their strongest people, and the Raikage, he kind of snaps out of this whole little Naruto's new power trend type thing, and he grabs Itachi and he tells Itachi come on, they gotta get their people. And Itachi started making some crows, the crow jutsu, and he starts summoning some people. He starts sending the crows out to get people, and the more and more people that show up, the less and less Naruto is concerned, because the more people that pull up, they're somewhat stronger than majority of what they're bringing, but they do have quantity, so Naruto is still somewhat concerned. So by the time they get in range for everybody else to somewhat feel it, everybody is now alerted. So everybody that was in the fortress part of the Leaf Village that was a civilian is now being escorted back down into a little area. And the tailed beasts, the people that were housing the tailed beasts, at this point they don't have a personality. The tailed beasts legit completely ruin the person, and whoever controls the tailed beast basically just controls the host too. It's wild. So they're basically walking tailed beast cages. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, when they get in the range, they release the tailed beast and a few titans, and they finally see the army, how massive it was, because some of the tailed beasts they didn't put close together, because some of them are stronger than others. So yeah, they see the army, and Naruto he screams, and he starts running into them. And for a moment, everybody they're paused, they're stuck, because they're still in shock at how big this army is. They thought that they were somewhat denting their lines, but really they're just putting anybody that comes through their doors weapons in their hands. These are active civilians. They see it in some of their faces. Some of them don't even want to be here, but they know if they try to leave, they'll die. Because some of them do, and some of them believe the Akatsuki cause. So when they finally zero in on the person who's controlling this massive army, it's this man with this mask and somebody else that looks somewhat familiar. And yeah, so they go and they somewhat try to, Naruto runs in, and all the tail beasts kind of zero in on Naruto. So the Titan shifters from the Leaf Village, they shift over and they start trying to fight the tail beasts and the Titans that are there too. And yeah, so basically the fourth great Shinobi war just started right in front of the Leaf Fortress. Anyway, a whole bunch of stuff transpires, as in a whole bunch of people die. Not really, but since the leaf since the front part of the Leaf Village, the gate wall part, is basically a fortress, they didn't take as many losses as they would have. They took a bunch. I'm not discrediting the Akatsuki, but they didn't take as many as they would have originally. And then the Zetsu army appeared. Then it became a problem because Madara got resurrected. And then it became a problem because after Madara got resurrected, Naruto went from dominating the battlefield to Madara turning into his perfect Susanoo. After Naruto was somewhat doing some damage to him, he gave Naruto his props, turned into his perfect Susanoo, and kind of kicked him about the fight. And as Naruto's passed out, he extracts the tailed beast that was inside of Naruto. So he doesn't have the 9 tails as of right now, so at this point he is dying. And Orochimaru ended up realizing what Madara was actually trying to do. And when Madara became the Six Paths, the Sage of Six Paths, they ended up resurrecting, I want to say right before he became the Sage of Six Paths, he ended up resurrecting all the Leaf Hokage, and Minato, sensing Naruto's diminishing chakra due to the Nine Tails being out of him, he ended up giving the Nine Tails to Naruto. Well, his part of the Nine Tails to Naruto. Naruto ends up waking up, but with this part of the Nine Tails, it's not as wild as what he's used to, but it's more cooperative. So he's like, okay, I get it. So Naruto, he transforms back into his Titan form. I want to say his founding Titan form. There it is. But it's like has Nine Tails energy with it, so his teeth are sharper and his bony claws are sharper. That's about it. And he can kind of if he opens his mouth, he can fire tail beast bombs of it. That's about it. Yeah, and he also ends up getting. This is gonna. So Naruto ends up getting all those little boosts and amps. So does Sasuke. I don't know. I don't. Honestly, I don't. But yeah, Sasuke ends up getting his amps. So in the turn of like Madara trying to get all the tailed beasts, he does end up somewhat getting, since he got the Nine Tails, he was able to transform into the Sage of Six Paths. But since Itachi was still around at the time, so he got his treatment. So it wasn't like it was just Might Guy, Kakashi, the Hokages, and Naruto. Sasuke was there. Not Sasuke. It was a few other strong shinobi. Due to the Titan War, there were a few higher bred shinobi more capable to deal with somewhat of more moderate strength than others. So, there was still more. So they had more of a standing ground, like not allowing Black Zetsu to do what he did. And when Madara released the information that he, that he basically got Ren killed, that basically sealed his fate, because Obito stopped supporting him, basically allowing them to get the upper advantage. So Kaguya never gets revived, and Black Zetsu ends up getting burned. Naruto really doesn't do anything after this. I'm like so serious. He probably, like, the most he would have done, in all honesty, is if not become the Hokage, probably try to do something strange, because he's like a founding Titan. So at the most he would probably just try to get his own little island to keep to himself, because after a time, I want to say they do become somewhat crazy. It's not like that hasn't happened. Naruto does hold a lot of hatred for the Leaf Village, as well as, hope that the Leaf Village survives. It's not like he doesn't like the Leaf Village, he just can't stay there. So, he ends up getting his own little island, and he does end up starting like his own little village. He calls it like the Titan Village, and it's literally just a bunch of Titan shifters that were not wanted back in their respective nations after the war, especially if they were on the Akatsuki side to begin with, because a lot of them, although they didn't want to be there originally, they got kicked out of where the Leaf Village was, so they had no option. So when they went to the Akatsuki side, they became very skilled Titan shifters, but when they wanted to come back home, they couldn't, because, well, they were war criminals. And Naruto was basically like a Titan reform. Naruto's village was basically like a giant Titan reform area. Like, Naruto basically, whatever war crimes they did, he disciplined them for the amount of time that he felt was necessary, and if they didn't accept it, they would just have to fight him. And if he felt like they were strong enough, he would leave them alone, but if they weren't, he would kill them. It was as simple as that. He would just eat them and just consume whatever part of their DNA whatever part of his DNA that they had in him. And he made it blatantly obvious that they all are here because of him. Like, you're not here because the Akatsuki brought you. Like, you're here because the Akatsuki brought you here, but you're only this strong because I'm here. And like, some of the people didn't take this the right way. Some of them basically accused of it all being Naruto's fault, but Naruto made it blatantly obvious that it wasn't his fault that certain villages decided to support certain things and ruin their entire village as a whole. That's not his problem. He was incarcerated for that entire time. Like, he was basically locked away. And a lot of them were thinking, like, so they just locked up basically the founder. And Naruto, like, looks at him and they were like, He was like, yeah, like that. The founder. They locked me up. They locked the founder up. So, after a while, I want to say there is one more war going on, and it's between, I want to say it's between the Cloud and the Stone after feuding ties, because the Stone Village leader didn't like the Raikage after he sided with Naruto, and Naruto never liked him anyway. So after they got their land back and they kept their Titan shifters, like they were planning military action. They were actually accepting Titan shifters too. The only problem is that they couldn't deal with their ego, so their army was just filled with a bunch of warlords. So when they declared war on the Cloud Village, yeah, sure, they trampled majority of their army, but their army was unorganized, and majority of the Titan shifters were feuding because they came from different parts of the Akatsuki hierarchy. So when Naruto got the chance to jump into the war, it was a different story, because Naruto's Titans, although, yeah, they were from different parts of the Akatsuki hierarchy, the Leaf hierarchy at that point, because, you know, at the point of the war when Naruto woke up, there really wasn't anybody, you know, to call it a democrat, you know? It was no vote on this, vote on that. It was do this or do that, or, you know, this is your status. So, yeah, Naruto basically broke them from that. They were like, no, like he basically told them there's no, like that, there's no hierarchy. If anybody's over anybody, I'm the founder. I'm over everybody. The only person y'all listening to is me. And Naruto, after a while, he ended up learning that his Beast Titan form, when he roared, basically could shock certain, like, the Titans that were still roaming around that were becoming a problem. Or, like, even Titan shifters, he could somewhat kind of nullify their power if he scrammed loud enough in his Beast Titan form. So when his people arrived on the battlefield, then these warlords were controlling these somewhat mindless Titans by, you know, just bellowing a few, you know, because there were a few Beast Titan men. So, you know, majority of their army were consisting of small, like, hosts for Titan shifters. Yeah, anyway. So, yeah, when they roared, Naruto jumped down and he roared and basically just dropped all of them. Like, yeah. And it basically was a wipe under the rug. And then after, the main Stone Village force got defeated, Naruto and the rest of the Cloud, and with the assistance of supplies from the Leaf, and basically the Stone got jumped by like 4 villages. They got jumped by Naruto's little village, like by Naruto's island village, by the Leaf Village, technically by supplies. The Sand Village, technically by supplies and routes to the Stone. Same with the Leaf. And Naruto's forces and the Cloud's forces. They basically just got jumped. So, yeah, they also ended up getting, not puppeted, but kind of. They put somebody in power that wasn't stupid and arrogant enough to try to start a whole other war using warlords and people with absolutely no regard for anybody else's life but their own and whoever towers over them. So, yeah, Naruto, I want to say if he ends up having kids, it's not like, I want to say they're with Hinata, but it took a longer time than what it would have taken. Like, it took way longer than what it took before, because Hinata still had to go through that whole Neji thing, because Neji never died. So she had to explain to Neji that she did not want to go through this little whole arranged marriage thing. And her dad, although, you know, didn't want to hear all of that, Neji eventually convinced him not to do it, because, you know, clearly Hinata has someone else in mind that has way more advantages than he does. So he basically, in that same argument of her convincing him, he basically asks her, who is it? And she basically tells him, like, it's the leader of a small, like, of a nation. And Neji basically, like, he palms and he's like, Naruto? Like, he puts his hand, like, he palms, like, you know, and Hinata basically, like, yeah, and she's like, Neji basically asks her, how do you plan on even getting over there? You know how hard it is to get to where Naruto is? And Hinata was like, I have my ways, I'll get there. And basically what ends up happening is she ends up running into Sasuke via I want to say Sakura. Yeah, because by this time they would be together. Yeah. So she meets up with Sasuke, and Sasuke takes her to Naruto. Naruto mad because technically speaking there's not a lot of real people here, so you know, but Naruto, you know, he also thinks they're also shifters, so they do de-transform, so it's not like they're not people. So yeah, he ends up letting Hinata stay. Sasuke dips out. Long story short, they end up having kids. Some of them do, since they're like pure bred, I want to say, not purebred, but you know, bred with an actual human and not like experimented on. They're like, you know, less at risk of malfunctioning, you know, but they're stronger in the sense of their powers weren't forced upon their body. They were born with them. And some of them, I want to say, they still, I want to say Boruto and Himawari, but like Himawari still has the Byakugan, but she can transform into like the female Titan, so she can use her Byakugan with her female Titan, but she doesn't get that yet because she's a child. And Boruto is like an assault Titan, and he can use like the armor too, so he can transform into those too, and he's actually pretty damn good with it. So yeah, Boruto at that point would have been a pretty decent like, because he would be around the same age Naruto would have been in Boruto, so he would have been able to transform into his Titans and use both of his forms with Naruto's help. So with that being stated, Naruto wouldn't be considered an awful father to Boruto, because Naruto would have been honing Boruto's skills, and Boruto would have understood the fact that he's the founder and he also has to worry about thousands of other people that are also being affected by the Titans due to people that locked him away. So, you know, that was kind of drilled into his head, because that was like almost what everybody else believed, because that's what Naruto believed, and everybody that went there, Naruto blatantly told them that's what happened. They locked him away and shit got out of hand. Anyway, that'll be the end of this series, and I hope y'all enjoyed this one. And if y'all did, drop a like. If y'all enjoy my content, please subscribe. Anyway, this has been Shinobi. Peace.